Hi, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen, and I'm here today to talk to you about a cleanse diet, or more specifically, a detoxification diet, or some kind of diet that's going to try to clean up your insides. You or your loved one are probably looking, if you're watching this video, for more information about detoxification and or cleanse diet. So that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. So in our office, we use a product called the Repair and Clear protocol through Apex Energetics. I urge you to look online if you want to find out more information about this. ApexEnergetics.com is a great resource for you. So let's talk to you a little bit about that today. So what's the reason why you would need a cleanse diet and or a detoxification diet? Well, basically over the last decades, there's been a drastic increase in certain events that have caused our bodies to overload with toxins. Namely, the standard American diet. This is a diet high in refined sugars, processed food, fast foods, non-nutrient dense foods, not a lot of vegetables. And so with that, we have nutritional deficiencies, and our cellular reproduction, or our basic cells, the way they function, are unable to be as healthy as possible. On top of that, we also have a lot of stress. Stress from a work job, stress from a marital situation, stress from finances, student loans, aging parents, children, divorces, deaths, just different events in our lifetime that puts our body in a constant state of stress. It doesn't even have to be a real stress. It could be something that we perceive. Our body still has to handle that. Other things that may cause our body to need to be detoxified are viral infections, or bacteria infections, or parasitic infections. If you eat a lot of sushi, there's a good chance that you have a parasite, or even fungal infection. So we have all these stressors that are taxing our body and require us to detoxify. Another thing that potentially is in need of a reason why we need to detoxify is because of heavy metal exposures. A lot of us have dental amalgams or cavities that we've had over our lifetime, and these have metal in them, like mercury or other toxic metals that build up in our body. The waters we drink, the environmental toxins with lead and plastics that we use, and potentially cadmium and arsenic. So all these things on our body overwhelm it from time to time, and we feel crappy. And when we feel crappy, we have a sludging and a feeling that we're wearing down. So that's the reasons why a lot of people want to go on detoxification diets. A lot of the times too, we all have these problems. I may have all these bacterial infection, fungal infection, parasitic infection, heavy metal toxicity, environmental toxin, mold exposure, and I may not be sick. Whereas someone else may have a little less of those toxins and they are sick. So when we lose our tolerance, we call it our immune tolerance, then we become sick. So when you've feeling run down and not feeling great, then it's time for you to go on a detoxification diet. What I'd like to talk to you now is the web of physiologic dysfunction. So you may feel tired or have some gastrointestinal distress, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to give you some kind of potentially a digestive aid, or he's going to give you an antacid, or they'll give you something to help with motility and having a bowel movement. But that's not the only thing that's going wrong. And that's why a lot of the times you'll still suffer after you take some kind of one drug for one cure. And so what we talk about is physiological dysfunction. The first thing that can happen is a blood sugar imbalance. The ideal blood sugar range should be 85 to 99. So look on your blood test and see if you're in that category. If you're below 85, then you have what's called hypoglycemia. And this is when you start to crash throughout the day. This is when you get irritable, shaky, and jittery if you haven't eaten for a while, sort of like a bear with a sore tooth. You just want some food, you're crashing. Or you may be above 99, detoxifying, and this is when you become insulin resistant, where you start getting higher triglycerides and fatty acids, and the sugar can't get into the cell, so you get tired. So that's certainly one main reason you may need to detoxify. And if you just took a pill to try to help with digestion or to help with any type of ailment, you're not going to be necessarily focusing on blood sugar levels. Adrenal dysfunction. Adrenal dysfunction is very common for people who don't sleep very well, that wake up feeling groggy, that have very little energy when they wake up in the morning, and then they get a little more energy as the day goes on, and then they may crash at about 2 o'clock, and then they get a little more energy at the end of the night. You have dysregulation with your adrenal glands. You also have someone who has adrenal dysfunction when you have brain fog. You can't really remember as well as you used to. You may have a chronic injury, or you may be very stressed and you're taking a lot of caffeine and stimulants. That's another reason why you may need to detoxify. Gut dysfunction. Gut dysfunction, 80% of our immune system is in our gut. And if we have sensitivities to different foods, like an allergy to milk, soy, egg, yeast, oats, rye, barley, spelt, there's so many different things that may create inflammation in our body, and we get what's called a leaky gut. And when we get a leaky gut, we get a lot of gastrointestinal inflammation, and then that would be another reason for us to detoxify. Thyroid dysfunction. These are people that potentially who have no energy, that are cold or hot, thinning of the outside of the eyebrows, people that can't gain weight or can't lose weight. This would be, again, another reason we'd want to try to detoxify. Mind-body issues, that comes down to emotional stress, potentially neurotransmitter function in our body, serotonin, dopamine, all these different things that are helping us, are happy peptides, depression. If we have a lot of chemical imbalances or even hormonal imbalances, then that's another reason why we need to detoxify, which we just talked about, hormone imbalance. Cellular dysfunction, this is ATP production, this is Krebs cycle, and this is talking about having energy and ability to function with vitality. There's a test we do in our office called the organic acid profile, and this will tell us if we're having any spilling over of our cofactors in our urine, which tells us that our cellular production, our electron transport chain, our mitochondria development is just not functioning optimally, and we need to detoxify. Brain dysfunction, we talked a little bit about that. Immune system, 80% is in our gut, and we could always feel sick. We have bacteria, fungal, parasite, mold, anything that may cause us to feel run down. And then liver dysfunction is one of the main reasons we'd go on a detoxification diet. The reason why we do that is because our liver is the big detoxifier of our body, and it's just under all this barrage of stress that we've just talked about, this physiological web of dysfunction. And so part of a great detoxification diet is going to focus on the digestion part of it and also the liver detoxification diet. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what's the solution? We talked about if you're feeling crappy and you're feeling run down and you have a whole web of physiologic dysfunction going on in your body, then it's time to potentially detoxify. And what you want to do is you want to focus on the two main functions that we just talked about, which is digestion and detoxification. So let's talk a little bit about that. The Repair and Clear program targets both of these functions through a specific diet regimen and nutrient supplements. I have a brochure, so if you come into our office, I give a patient a brochure about the Repair and Clear diet. These are all the supplements that we use when we're doing it, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that right now. So these are the supplements. You see we have a probiotic, we have an anti-inflammatory and turmeric. I'm sure you've heard about turmeric. We also have some medium-chain fatty acids that's really helpful for gut bacteria, a healthy bacteria. We have a detoxification, either rice powder. If you're sensitive to rice, then we use a pea protein. We also have some herbal remedies for repairing the lining of the gut. Also liver detoxification, and then resveratrol is another anti-inflammatory. So let's talk a little bit more about that. It's a 6-week program, and it provides both a nutritional compounds and botanical extracts to support healthy detoxification, as well as flavonoids, antioxidants, plant sterols, glycoproteins, saponins to support healthy digestion. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. So it's basically a 6-week program. It's not a elimination, it's not a restrictive diet. So it doesn't mean you can only eat, you can only eat like a master cleanse where you can only have maple syrup, water, and cayenne pepper and lemons. You don't have to restrict your calories, but you have to restrict some of the foods that are potentially creating inflammation in your body. So first phase is the baseline phase, and this is where we're not changing our diet. We're just basically going on a anti-inflammatory protocol. These anti-inflammatory protocols are basically Ultra D. This is an emulsified vitamin D, which will help with inflammatory pathways. The Tumoro, which again helps with inflammatory pathways, and Resveratrol. So we haven't done anything to eliminate the fire, so to speak, but we're just applying the hose to try to put out the fire. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the inflammatory reactions. This gets a little bit more scientific for us, but basically we have an antigen-presenting cell. So when we have an inflammatory reaction, we could have a bacteria infection, a viral infection, a parasitic infection. Basically, this antigen is being presented to our immune system. Our T helper cell recognizes this cell and tells some messengers what to do. And these messengers are sort of our army that goes in and tries to put out the fire. There's two different ways that we can go, a Th1 reaction or a Th2 reaction. And in order to have proper health, we need a good balance of both of these Th1 and Th2. Certain cells that mediate the Th1 are natural killer cells, TNF-alpha, interleukin-2, whereas the other cells on the Th2 side are IL-4, also B lymphocytes. So it's basically, in a nutshell, the inflammatory reaction, the way that our bodies process inflammation through two different mechanisms. And if there's a balance or out of balance of these two mechanisms, then we tend to get sick and chronically ill for long times. So on this diagram, we show that the Th1 pathway is firing too much. These are long illnesses that you don't really know. They're not aggressive. It could be a long-forming cancer that the Th1 system is overfiring, and this is creating inflammation and pain. Then we have the Th2 pathway, which is more of the strong fighter pathway where you have antibodies coming to attack the scene, and that's more of an aggressive immune reaction. So again, we're trying to have these two in balance, and when we take the supplements that we're taking through, excuse me, let me just fast forward here. All right, so basically the first phase of our repair and clear diet are the inflammatory. So everything I just showed you there, that's designed to normalize the Th1 and Th2 pathways to put out the fire. The next phase of the repair and clear protocol lasts for week 2 and week 3, and this is the intestinal repair phase. Just fast forward. Okay, so basically, when you have inflammation in your body from everything we just described, from bacteria, pathogens, from viral pathogens, from fungal pathogens, when you have from even heavy metal toxicity, then you're going to have an overfighting of Th1 or Th2, and then this creates a constant stage of inflammation. When that happens, the inflammation happens, it's like taking a blowtorch to our different systems. In this case, it's like taking a blowtorch to our intestines because there's so much inflammation. And what I explain to my patients is when you have too much inflammation in the gut, then it's almost like your fine metal strainer. When you're draining pasta and you have a fine metal strainer and the pasta is drained, then all the water is going to pass through and the pasta is going to stay in that fine metal strainer. Now, if you think about that fine metal strainer being a colander, and now that colander has big holes in it, when you put the pasta in there, not only is the water going to pass through, but the pasta is going to pass through too. So that's what happens when we start having more immune reactions and there's leakiness or permeability in the gut. It's now second phase of the diet of this repair or cleanse protocol is to repair these intestinal permeability holes that have formed in your gut lining. So basically in this phase, we have to eliminate certain foods that are creating this inflammation. So the basic chronological order that happens is we eat the foods, then our enzymes that we have in our GI system are used to break down these foods, and then it's absorbed between the tight junctions. But what happens is over time, like I just mentioned, inflammation develops in our digestive tract, and then that's when we start getting loosening of these tight junctions, and that's called leaky gut. We're doing a test in our office through Cyrex Labs that can actually test to see if you have leaky gut, and then if we employ a cleanse program, my best recommendation is to get the Cyrex Array 2 to be able to see if you have leaky gut. Go through the cleanse and protocol, the cleanse and diet protocol through repair and clear, and then retest and see how you've cleared up your leakiness in your gut. So the immune system basically reacts to these things that are passing into our gastrointestinal system, and then we have to reverse this process. This cycle can be difficult to unwind unless we employ an aggressive dietary change and lifestyle change. So the repair protocol is part of the intestinal program. Basically, it supports mucosal membrane integrity. This is trying to rebuild the lining of the walls of the GI system. And it also consists of a strict dietary removal of food. So now you're going to ask, oh my goodness, what can I eat? And so basically, I'm going to go over that in 1 second. But basically, the nutritional supplements are targeted to support the intestinal membranes. We just mentioned that. Again, it's not a calorie restrictive diet. It's just certain foods that you're not allowed to eat. And again, you should never be hungry on this diet. It's just you should be eating the foods that you should be eating, and you can't eat the foods that you can't be eating. So let's go into what the particular foods are. Basically, we can eat most organic vegetables. Basically, it's a hunter-gatherer diet or a paleo diet. So we're allowed to eat organic vegetables, fermented foods, meats, hopefully organic grass-fed meats, low glycemic organic fruits like pitted fruits like your plums, your pears, your peaches, apples, coconuts, noodles, but they're shirataki or yam noodles. We're basically going on fruit and vegetables and meat. The foods to avoid. This is where I get a lot of my patients say, I can't do that. That's too hard. And I tell them, well, you know, you're feeling crappy. You want to feel better. You want to detoxify. You want to start to feel a nice GI balance. You don't want to feel sloggy and bent over and gas and irritable, then you're going to have to make some sacrifices. It's not going to be an easy diet for you. But if you do, and you're willing to make the sacrifices, then you're going to get a lot of relief. The foods that we can eat are high sugar foods. We're trying to normalize our blood sugar levels. Chocolates, candies, high glycemic fruits like bananas, canned fruits, grains, including amaranth, barley, buckwheat, corn, couscous, so basically all the grains. No more pastas, no more breads. And this is for week 2 and week 3. So 2 weeks, people, come on. Gluten-containing compounds, barbecue sauces, all these foods here, modified food starch, MSG, creamers, processed salad dressings, all these things have gluten added to them, and you need to remove that. Dairy and eggs, soy, and also mushrooms and alcohol, and beans and legumes. So those are all the foods that we're eliminating. Why do we do this? Why do we do the repair protocol before we do the liver protocol? And the way I would explain this is it's like, if we're doing a detoxification protocol or cleanse diet, we're trying to repair the insides. And so we're taking out the junk. And so if you look at like a garbage man, the garbage man taking away the garbage from the curb is the liver detoxification phase. However, you got to bag it up first yourself, and that's the intestinal repair phase. So we're bagging up the garbage and getting it prepared to be eliminated from our house. That's why we do that first. The last 3 weeks, weeks 4, 5, and 6, that's our liver support phase. And why do we need to do this? We sort of spoke about this a little bit earlier. Every day, millions of molecules from different compounds enter our bodies through voluntary ingestions and or involuntary exposures, just breathing these things in where we live. These chemicals come from foods, beverages, medicines, additives, personal care, and many others. I had a patient who was using cream, anti-aging cream, and it had a lot of exogenous hormones, and that was really messing up his adrenal glands. So, all these, and he didn't even know it. So these are things that we have to really scrutinize in our day-to-day activities and try to remove them because we're trying to detoxify. What happens, our body accumulates all of these chemicals, and then we start to have these problems again. And if you're looking for a natural solution, this is what's going to help you the most. Cleansing the body of these compounds is known as detoxification. So we're trying to take the garbage away from the house. That's what we're trying to do. These toxins go through various chemical changes, making them so phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. There's basically 3 phases, but phase 1 is we're trying to turn the fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble toxins. The removal of these toxins help the organ's ability to absorb nutrients better. So not only are you going to get rid of this crap and sludge in our system, but we're now going to be much more able to absorb ideal nutrients. We're going to repair our system. So phase 2, we have to support that phase as well. So basically, it's a 3-week program. There are 6 different pathways that the garbage men take the garbage away from the curb. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you want to come in, we can talk about that. The Clearvite program is the cleansing detoxification part of the program. These are extracts that will help get rid of the toxins. 21 days, we're using this for basically 3 weeks. They include things like B vitamins, cysteine, glycine, antioxidant, CoQ10, rutin, marshmallow root, stuff that's going to make us feel better. We also suggest, again, on this diet, foods that we can drink, a lot of water. We can now get back into the grains made from rice, unless, again, you have some kind of sensitivity to rice. Fresh fruit and vegetables, fish, olive oil. And so this is a great part of the phase as well. These are the foods to avoid. We went over this earlier. And these are the supplements. So if you're interested in finding out more information about my Repair and Clear protocol for cleanse diet, we do awesome work in our office, and we can do a consultation with you, and we can look at any type of blood work that you've done in the past. And we can certainly, if we need to do extra testing to find out if you have leakiness in your gut, if you have sensitivities to food. Because what happens is, let's say we clean up our inside, we get rid of the inflammation, we repair the lining of the gut, we get the liver functioning properly, and then you go back to eating foods that you shouldn't be eating. You're introducing the gluten, you're introducing the dairy, and you have a sensitivity to these things. And then all of a sudden you're creating that vicious cycle. What I would suggest in that instance is we do some testing to determine if you have a sensitivity to gluten. And if you do, you can't eat these things anymore. Or do some testing to see if you have a sensitivity to eggs or milk or soy or corn or couscous or a lot of people have problems with quinoa. And they're eating gluten-free pasta, and then they're eating quinoa pasta only to find out that they have a vicious sensitivity to that. So we do it all under the belt in our office, and excuse the pun. And if you're looking for a great solution to your chronic problem, then maybe you're looking for a cleanse diet. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen from Boca Health Center, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.